All right, so I'm gonna try to be not super long-winded about this. I just want to explain kind of the framework that I'm using here. You can see we got the Harmony data generation batch is processing right now. So that data is going to be in the sandbox. We can start testing with it. But yeah, basically just want to explain how the Harmony batch and the ImageNet 6 data batch are working here. There's two separate classes. I don't know if this is something we'll need to deploy to production, but the more I think about it and kind of like see the state of the data, I'm guessing we may actually want to spin, because I kind of like whip these up, but I'm looking at them running and I'm thinking maybe this is the way that we want to do it and kind of have this be a little more of a long-term solution, because we're definitely going to need to make some changes, delete things out, kind of reload them, build the relationships again, as we get more data coming in, as well as once we maybe figure out a few more elements, we'll adjust these batches and kind of rerun them. So the reason I did this is because I wanted something that was repeatable. We could nuke all the data and just like reload it again without having to go through, doing like, 7 different data loads for all the different objects that we got to put stuff in. So what does this mean? So basically the way that I combine this data is I combine them into flat files. So we had like all these spreadsheets all over the place, and basically the lowest common denominator is going to be the license key itself. There's always going to be one record per license key, and so everything else we can kind of build on that and say, okay, what are all the relationships going up the chain from the license key? And so I did that for both Harmony and for ImageNet 6 data. And so this is kind of what the file looks like. If we look through here, it's got the site ID, the hardware ID, the name of the customer, license key, of course, expirations, number of users, which is sort of confusing because we just have like these different things going on here. So I'll need to get clarification, I think, on what exactly this means and how I need to be loading that in. But at the bottom line is right now I'm just using this whatever's in this field because it seems to have like the most data populated. So I'm just using that for the user numbers. But we're going to need to add some data to these flat files and maybe regenerate new flat files. But as long as we keep the format roughly the same, there are objects in Salesforce that represent all of the fields on these flat files. So if we create more data, we'll add more fields to the object and then add them to the spreadsheet, and we can delete everything, reload the data in, add lines if we want, do it manually if we want. But that it kind of having that framework makes it really convenient. So if we look inside a Salesforce here, this is this Harmony data flat object, and it's just all the fields. That's what the object is. All the fields that might be in the spreadsheet. And so we can continue adding to this and building on it if we need to. ImageNet 6 has one just like this. And so that's kind of the starting block for Salesforce, because I could have done all of this, all of the relationship checking and stuff in Excel and tried to like do VLOOKUPs for all that. But I was like, no, it's, upload with external IDs and all that. But honestly, it's easier to just build a batch, go one line at a time, check all the data I might want, create any data that's missing, and kind of process it that way, just one record at a time. So if we take a look at what one of these resulting records looks like once it's processed, if I can find one of these, let's close out all this stuff. And doesn't like that. Let's just limit. Cool. And I now realize, let me grab a field I need real quick. Okay, so what I did is I added this license key assignment field. So basically the way that this works is it processes all of the data that it can, and then it will go back and populate this license key assignment record once it's complete. So if we take a look at this one at the detail page, we've got this record, and here is the license key assignment. And so this record is a little bit of a mess because when we pulled it from production, the page layouts weren't done. So we're going to cheat and go use the Salesforce inspector once it loads. So we can see we've got, we don't have an order, but we definitely should have a license key. And I think, so this is like a permissions thing. The sandbox is still kind of out of whack from a permission standpoint, so we'll need to fix all of that. But there's all these relationships on this license key assignment record that attaches a license key record to a product registration record and to an asset, and builds all of these associations. So this is kind of the hub. And we have that data, like I said, linked. Where did that go? Back to this flat data record once it's all been created. So if we want to delete things and reload them, we can kind of go back through the chain and nuke everything and just rerun these processors and let them create the records. So that's kind of how everything works. The key to take away here is that it's a framework that's pretty repeatable, and we don't have to like spend hours loading stuff in every time we want to change something in this model, because like I said in my email earlier, we're definitely going to have changes because we're still missing a lot of stuff, like which license keys are for glaucoma, which ones are for Harmony. Do they apply to both? How do we represent that in the system? On the ImageNet 6 side, we don't have any of the product information. So like I can create the keys, I can build the associations. I actually have a pretty good idea of the data there, except I don't know what are like parent products, child products, what the asset hierarchy should look like. So we'll still need to get that information, build it into the system. But for now, we're pretty close. I mean, we have all the keys loaded in, and we can start testing. So that's where we're at. 7.5 minutes long for this video, so sorry about that. But yeah, let me know if you got questions, and I'll sync back up when we can chat and figure out how to get the rest of this data in here.